各位观众大家好，欢迎收看邓洪说法节目，我是美国联邦律师邓洪，让我们知法守法，据理力争。在今天的选举专辑里边，我采访到了这 Elizabeth， 她是在美国出生长大第5代的华裔这个移民当然她中文不会说，不过的说她还是保存着我们传统的华人家庭，她这祖父的祖父以后在18多年前的话，就是做苦力来到了美国他自己的父母也是在这边出生长大的，但是他永远保持着中国的传统价值观念他自己除了教育拿到了博士学位在 Glendale教英文之外的话，他自己也在从事生意，他并且这个养育成功了6个小孩子，并且的话他今年的话他已经是有3个孙子的祖母了，但是他是个非常虔诚的基督徒，他看到在过去4年加州里边道德沦落基督教的理念被挑战以后，尤其是看到加州州长签署这个变性手术学校不能够告知家长，所以这些法案通过让他非常生气，所以他自己出来竞选25选区的加州参议员。25选区这个地方里边的话，包括人口非常多的华人，所以目前里边的话再包括了我们可以说是最多的这些地方里边的话从 Montreal Park、Rosemead、Alhambra 到 Temple City、Arcadia、Monrovia、Pasadena 以后再往这个 Glendale 这个地方，还有到了 Claremont 这个地方，这个地方里边亚太裔华人的人口越来越多，尤其是在我们West San Gabriel 这个地区的话Alhambra、San Gabriel、San Marino、Temple City、Rosemead 这些都是我们华人密集的地方。在里边的话，在过去几年的话都是由这个 Antonio Palatino 来代表的，他是一个在这个极左派的在这个极左派，他并不是这个中间温和派，而是极左派的，跟我们49选区的众议员一样，都是在 Sacramento 推动极左的政策他今年还好，幸好的话他 turn out因为加州在1992年通过一个法规，不允许他们这些政客任期超过12年这种情形里边的话，他到期了之后，现在是一个 open 的 seat。open seat 里边现在就是除了这个之前民主党派出了几个各方面来争的其中的话我们也知道华人的伊万印他是 Montreal Park 的市议员，也想办法做候选人，但是的话他花了几百万的费用还是落后。而现在的话这个代表这个民主党出任的话，这个是傻真的有点傻。为什么他没有一份工作，同性恋，然后这个是以政治这个为一个解释的一个政客而已他并没有做过1天的生意，也没有做过一份工作，就是想办法要做议员。当然的话，他的支持者就是赵美心，他的也是工会后面在推动他们推动的也是一样，维护同性恋的权益变同性恋变性恋变成他享有特权，同样的要 cater 要迎合工会的所有要求。所以的话这个很重要一点的话，我们不能够让这些职业的政客像这个赵美心所培养的这人的话当选，我们一定不能够因为这个他是有得到赵美心的支持以后我们就要支持他。你要知道的话，在过去10年里边，赵美心已经背叛了我们社区，已经出卖了我们选民，已经是为特殊利益团体服务，不再是我们华人社区的代表。不要被华人他的脸孔所蒙骗了，不要被他只会说2句中文话就可以了，不要被这些侨领来蒙骗了。因为这些侨领的话拍个照片，他们是无知，他们根本的话就是拍马屁而已，不要被这些人误导了。我们要选的话就是说 他是我们选出来的公仆国会议员，他替我们社区做了哪些事情，他推动哪些法案。他在过去做国会议员10多年，除了自己从100万的身价变成1000万的身价之外，对我们社区完全没有做过任何有意义的事情，而回来之后欺骗我们。这种的人培养他出来的之后，他也是支持一大堆同样的华人，都是一样的货色。所以为什么我今年的他说所有的市议员候选人，他们不分党派，但是的话，只要是叫美心支持的这些人，我们都要投反对票。这样子的话，才能够让他们知道，我们社区已经觉醒了，我们不希望继续被蒙骗。所以很重要一点的话，在今年在这个25选区，我们一定要支持共和党候选人这个 Elizabeth， 因为这样子才能够确保我们小孩子的有一个实现美国梦的机会，才能够保证的话，社会治安都会好转。所以的话这个我有40多分钟的话跟他访谈，用英文访谈的以后大家也可以这个跟我一起了解一下子Elizabeth 的背景，还有他的从政经验为什么他要参政。好的，谢谢大家的收看祝大家这个还是一样我们一定要不要放过自己手中的神圣一票，一定要用选票来发出声音，一定要支持像 Elizabeth 这样子的愿意替我们社区服务，愿意这个奉献的一个这样子的一个非常正直的人士。谢谢大家的收看，我们一定要投票。Well, it's truly an honor to have a chance to interview Elizabeth. Elizabeth, we have a lot of mutual friends, and she's running for California Senate. Elizabeth, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yes.
I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I remember 2 years ago, a patient who came to visit my wife, and she showed a lot of literature. She's a Caucasian lady. She said, you should vote for this Chinese lady. She's perfect. She would turn California around. And I think, my wife read her bio and said, well, this is something you have to vote for her. So I think this year, Elizabeth is running for a Senate seat. Senate is very important. As we know, in California, there's 2 houses. One is Assembly, has 80 members, and Senate have 40 members. And in order to pass the law and also, approve the budget, had to go through both Assembly and Senate. And then send it to governor to sign into the law. And if the governor want to do something, and they have to get the okay from both Senate and also Assembly. For the last 10 years, we know that, Democrats have been dominating Assembly and also Senate. Right now, I'm in the 120th elected official in Sacramento. Democrat control 75%, supermajority. That means normally to pass a legislature, have to have a subcommittee and also have to have all the discussion, public hearings. And normally it take 18 months for any legislation to pass. But now, because of supermajority, 3 months, the governor signed into it. So that's wrong because we don't have a check and balance. Will you agree, Elizabeth?
Yes. 4 years ago, we wouldn't have imagined that our school children would be taking transgender hormone drugs without their parents knowing. But our legislator just pushed through this legislation which blocks parental notification. We wouldn't have had that happen 4 years ago. Things have gone so fast because of this supermajority. So in the Senate, we may only need 4 or 5 seats to flip this election, and then they won't have a supermajority anymore. And
that's important.
This district, this is the year to flip the seat because it's an open seat. Yes, this guy here, he's termed out.
Yeah, he's turned out glad, because in 1992, we passed a term limit for all the assembly. If they could not be a career politician. Unfortunately, many of the Democrats elected official, they want to be a career politician. I
Mhm.
almost saying career criminal.
Yeah,
Because
that's
they,
what it's amounting to.
yeah, because what they're doing really is criminal because they are violating the law, the federal law. They're not, they're allowing a lot of illegal immigrants coming in the country. And, what I come a shock to me is that, our, who are representing our San Gabriel Valley area, the 49th Assembly District, Assemblyman Mike Fong, and he proposed the law to allow all the illegals to work in Cal State, UC, and all the community college on-campus job, on-campus work. I mean, immigration law, they require you had to be legal to be able to work. But Mike Fong, he proposed, and the law then, is in violation of the federal law, allow the illegal to work on campus. That is contradicting to our constitution and our federal law. I just could not believe, let's go that far, and that's the reason. Well, before we go into all the politics, I mean, I want to have Elizabeth explain a little bit about your background. I know that, you're born here, right? Was you a second generation Chinese American?
No, I'm 5 generations.
Five generation.
5 generations here in California, California born.
I see. I
Yeah,
see.
so that's why I apologize, I can't speak Chinese.
But it's okay. I think you still have the Chinese family value. I remember,
Yes.
And so your great grandparents must come from in the is it in the Gold Rush area or
Yeah, it
what?
was 1800s when the first ones came,
Mhm.
so they had the
Wow.
gold rush era or 1880s.
Mhm.
Um, so it's it's been a blessing for our
Yeah.
family to have roots here in California,
Mhm.
and it was difficult in those days to immigrate, and they
Mhm.
couldn't even bring their wives. So, yeah, my grandparents were
Mhm.
American born, but
Mhm.
they advocated for 6 years, along with other Chinese organizations in the
Mhm.
1920s, 30s to allow Chinese men to bring their wives from China.
Wow.
So
I remember 1882, the Congress passed the only law that discriminate people because of their race or nationality. That's called Chinese Exclusion Act. That was passed in 1882. When I studied law, and that was, this, we saw that, uh, because at that time, most of the Chinese who come over here, they're in constructing the railroad, operating a laundry. They do not have the chance to vote, and they don't have any
Mm,
political power. I mean,
mhm,
we were lucky
yeah,
during 1964 when Congress passed the Civil Rights Act. We're lucky, but at the same time, we could see a lot of things that are being. I think another thing is that like our kids when they apply for college, we're being discriminated because our race. Because even though how good they're good at all the math and science, but when they apply for college admission, they get denied because they are the minority. And I think
right.
something we need to do. Now I know that you have 6 children. Tell us a little bit background, and then why you want to go into politics.
Yes, we've got Ron and I have been married for 34 years. We
Mm-hmm.
we met at UCLA as students, and
Mm-hmm.
as soon as we got married, Ron started working for the city of Glendale in the accounting department, and I was teaching English at Glendale College and Valley College, Los Angeles Valley College, and then and UCLA during the summers, and
Mm-hmm.
then when we had our children. Um, we have 4 girls
Mm-hmm.
and 2 boys,
Okay.
and, the youngest one is 18, and the oldest one is 30, and she's married, has 3 children, so we have 3 grandchildren,
Wow.
and I chose to homeschool them
Mm-hmm.
because I could see back in the 1980s when I was a student that, um, the direction that our culture was going was not really good for the children's future. And I
Mm-hmm.
and if I could educate them myself so that they would be leaders in their generation,
Mm-hmm.
then they could go into all sectors of government or journalism or entertainment or science, but as a cultural leader.
Mm-hmm.
But then as 2020 came around, 2021, and we had lockdowns, we had rioting, we had hate crimes, we had fires, we had police defunding the police. I,
Mm-hmm.
I realized that I can't wait for my children to move into their leadership roles. I've got to start now, and
Mm-hmm.
before we've got to do it for the future, because it's only going to get worse if we don't start changing the trajectory
Yeah.
of this destructive direction.
Yeah, I know that many people who think that the politics I really don't want to get involved, and things like that. But I think we're all here to saying that if we're not on the table, we'll be on the menu. I think that
Oh,
yeah.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
look at what Chinese Exclusion Act, because at that time, we're all working as coolie, they're just working. We did not have a chance to vote. That's the reason our ancestors coming over here, they get deprived of that. The San Francisco fire, and it come out all the paper. My mentor, Judge Ronald Rule, is one of those people, and who been through all that. And I think we're all, because China, just the similar experience with the Japanese American during the World War II. Many of the Japanese American were put in the concentration camp because they are Japanese American. So that's the reason I think we need to get involved. We are part of
Yes.
American society.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's the beauty.
Mm-hmm.
So our Asian history shows some of the
Mm-hmm.
flaws in American history, but it also
Mm-hmm.
shows the beauty of the system that was founded with our Constitution. That
Mm-hmm.
there is a system for immigrants to come in and participate. And
Yes.
it may take time, and
Mm-hmm.
it definitely takes tenacity and courage, but we can change and make our country, make our state, make our city a better place for everyone.
Yep.
So I started in 2021 running for town
Mm-hmm.
council, because after 2020 I was like, okay, I'm just going to jump in. We have to do something now.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, one of the things that motivate me to get involved is that, I want my children and their children to enjoy the same opportunity that,
Right.
American are giving me. As a foreign student born and raised in China, came over here at age of 19, I was able to, work hard and fulfill my American dream. I was able to buy a house and raise kids, just like you. You work hard, and you know what? We pay for everything. American offer me an opportunity to make enough money so that I could pay for all the tuition for my kids, so that they don't have to rely on student loan. I mean, that's something that I want to have the same opportunity for the next generation and the next generation. I mean,
I
10
think
years.
that's
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's something very special about
Mm-hmm.
our Chinese DNA, is
Mm-hmm.
that we have a generational worldview. We're not just living check to check for
Mm-hmm.
our own enjoyment, but we're
Yeah.
thinking about the future and what can we do that's smart to
Mm-hmm.
provide for the future and the next generation. And so
Yes.
that's what we're doing politically too.
Yep, that's right. I mean, one of the things that, because the California District 25 is have a huge population of Chinese immigrant. Many of them just like me, who come over here to pursue American dream. But many of them, they're they're frustrated by what is happening here, because they give up everything. They could have a comfortable life in Taiwan, in Hong Kong, or in China, but they give up their comfortable lives because they want to come over here to create a better environment for their kids. But what is happening now is not what they have. I see some people moving out of California, and see some people moving out of the country and go back to Taiwan, Hong Kong, or China, because they're fed up with the crime, and they're fed up with the progressive agenda, pushing it. I was shocked, and 2 years ago when I talked to Su Yu, who's running. She was working in ABC school district, and she showed me a sex education textbook.
Yes, I've seen that too. She's done great work.
Yeah, and
to-
I was shocked, and she was furious when they seeing that, and now, in this year, even the Governor Newsom would not dare to sign this into the law, because I think the senator and all the Democrats, they will vote for a bill that would require all the public schools starting from the 7th grade to provide free condom.
Yeah, what what for? It's like,
I'm dumbness. I mean,
what are you promoting with that, right?
Yeah, what you told me, tampon. That's we're laughing at Tim, tampon Tim, when what they're doing in Minnesota. But what is happening here? Are we promoting to allow the kids at the age of 12 and 13 to have sex?
Yeah,
That's
it's
not
destructive.
and
Yeah.
this is so wrong. And then we already know that when in the prison, and Kamala Harris, they want the government. They already have allowed the sex change, and our taxpayer might pay for it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that they're taxing us higher and higher, and they're using that money that we have worked so hard for to actually destroy the next generation instead of provide for them.
That's right. I mean, that's the reason it's people are frustrated, especially in the 25th district. We're talking about people who live in Alhambra, who live in Arcadia, who live in Temple City, San Marino, Montreal Park, Pasadena, Rosemead, San Gabriel, and many of the residents, they share the same philosophy as Elizabeth, as me. As a parent, we have an obligation to make our community safe, make our children safe. But what they're teaching in school is wrong, and the parent does not have a right. And then, to know, they have an obligation to provide the room and meal and education for the kids, but they have no right to know what they're teaching for in our kids. And that's so wrong. I think something needs to be done. And how we're going to do it? We need to clean up. We need to destroy the supermajority of the Democrat. Otherwise, we're going to have to move out. And that's not right. I mean, in the 25th district, when you look at all these people, like the current one, luckily he's been turned out. He's on the far left, and it's not me who's claiming it. This is Digital Democracy and Cal Matters website. People have a chance you could check on, look at my phone and look at what he's coming over here, and look at all these people all the law they pass, they all cater to the special interest group, which is the union. They want to tax and tax the business out of business. That's so wrong. And who's going to pay for it? It is all come down to our taxpayer money. I mean, during the primary, 4 candidates, they spent millions of dollars trying to get in there. I mean, look, just like Yvonne Yu, her family come up with close to $7 million just to get on the Senate seat. But is she really, she's being promoted by the hospital group in our Chinese community. They have something there. Why do you spend that much money for a position that that would pay less than 200,000? It does not make economic sense. But because they're representing special interest group. That's the reason Elizabeth, when you run for it, knowing that there's a lot of obstacle. Why you want to go forward with the election?
Oh, well, I personally, I had no choice because
Mhm,
in my heart, as I said, we have to do something.
mhm,
And I knew that, well, as it turns out, maybe I'm one in a million that can do this. There's a
uh,
million people in District 25.
yeah.
There's 620,000 that are registered to vote.
Mhm,
Um, but I know a lot of people don't have the ability to run for office,
mhm,
or they have no interest in it. But if I can, I will, and
mhm, mhm,
I'm doing this for you, the people,
mhm,
because I'm one of you. I want a representative that will represent us. Common sense. A lot of things that's happening is just like, why are they doing this? As you mentioned, having um, paying for illegals when our
mhm,
own people are suffering. So
mhm,
we need to have a voice really representing our family values,
mhm,
businesses. We need to have policy that allows houses to be built in a way that young families can move into a house.
mhm.
I mean,
Yep.
young families don't mind starting in an apartment, but there comes a point where you can't you can't drag 3 kids down the elevator and onto
Mhm.
a bus, right?
That's right.
We wanna have families, we wanna have children, good schools,
Mhm.
just just the normal stuff,
Yeah.
but people are leaving because it's getting too hard.
Yeah, I think, in your agenda, you're pushing for create more job and, to ensure that, everybody, who want to become an entrepreneur have a chance to do that. And you focus on education, now, the energy and natural resources. And that's something that, I know that, California have been going too extreme, and they would probably, eliminate the gas ovens and all that kind of things. That's, I think common sense is important, and when we don't have a common sense, and that's
Right.
yeah.
If we can't afford gasoline and we can't have a gas-driven car
Hmm.
and we can't afford to buy an electric car, then
Hmm.
how can we get to work to pay our taxes?
That's right. And also, even if for the electric car, where the electricity going to come from?
Right, we don't have the
Yeah,
infrastructure.
yeah.
And
And
yes.
so those things, I think one of the things, the homeless is issues. How do you envision yourself to help the solving the homeless issue in Sacramento?
Well, if any of you have had the courage to go
Mm-hmm.
into the areas where the homeless are
Mm-hmm.
encamped and talk to them, you realize that these people are not making good decisions for their own lives.
Mm-hmm.
They're not able to take care of themselves well. Um, and it's becoming unhealthy for the rest of us
Mm-hmm.
and unsustainable. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not compassion to leave them on the streets. If they have a drug problem, they need to go into drug rehab. If
Mm-hmm.
they are criminals, they need to be put in prison
Yep.
to keep the rest of us safe. Um,
Mhm,
if they're a child,
mhm,
there are so many safety
mhm,
net things
mhm,
available
mhm,
already that need to be
mhm.
utilized and encouraged.
Yeah,
And I believe that faith organizations have been helping the homeless
yeah.
for
Mhm,
centuries now, and
mhm,
they know how to do it. And
mhm,
government needs to give more freedom and partnership, I think, to faith
mhm,
organizations that really know how to do this well.
Mm-hmm.
Salvation Army in Pasadena, they have a brand new facility.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the homeless that I've talked to, though, they don't want to go in there because they
Mm-hmm.
want, I guess they want their brand of freedom, which means
Yeah.
they don't want to follow rules. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a point where, law and order for everybody.
Yep, that's right. And also, we should not create a safe haven for illegals here. Look at all these people coming here,
Right.
take up all the resources that our taxpayer, doesn't have the money to afford to. Now, in this year's election, we have proposition that would make it, free healthcare for everyone, a permanent. When we don't have the money, and
Right.
now we're attracting all these illegals who are not paying tax to come over here, and they did not do the background check. Many of our viewers, they have been where they do the background vetting, and they have to pay their due, and they're waiting in line for their parent, for their family to come over here. But someone is cutting out break the law and cut in front of you. Is that fair? That's not fair
No.
for the legal immigration.
No.
I think those kind of things that we need to able to, have somebody who are in the policy position to make a rational decision. We're not asking for anything rather than, let's see how we can solve the problem. I mean, I was shocked, and we're talking about, Evan Lowe and couple Mike Lee. They're so proud that their legislature they're protecting the right of the tenant because they're a tenant, they could not afford a place to buy. Then you should think about how we're going to create a job and buying a house, for the people like you. But they should not be, or because I couldn't afford, I'm a tenant, and you should target the landlord. I mean, the proposition right now, they're saying, they should allow all the city to set their own rent control law. That's so wrong. Because how about those landlords, especially in the Chinese culture, they bought a house, it's investment house, because they did not work for a big corporation. They don't have 401k. They don't have investment. For them, the easiest way is to invest in a rental property, and they get their retirement from the rent monthly. And that's
Right.
how,
And that's a good thing
yeah,
because it's since they own it, they care about
yeah,
taking care of it,
yeah,
and they care about who lives in there.
yeah.
And if the government puts the landowner out of business and the landowner can't maintain their place well because
Mhm.
they can't collect rent, what is he gonna do?
Yeah,
Can he sell it?
yeah.
If he would want to sell it because it's not helping him anymore, but who wants to buy it? And then
Uh,
if it's a mess, it's
it's
so. And then what kind of a place are the tenants going to have? They're not
that's
going
right.
to take care of it themselves, right?
Yep, yep. No, I mean, that's something that, we just need people who could make sense, Will you hire somebody who could not balance their own file bankruptcy to manage your finance? You would not. Will you hire somebody who, because we're talking about the budget, because 2 years ago, California had a surplus of $98 billion, but
Yes.
now we're at $52 billion in deficit.
Mhm.
When
Yeah.
when we're doing business, when I'm a business owner, I have to spend within my means. I mean, I have to spend within my budget. I don't, because right now 60% of American, our neighbors, are living on credit card, and 13% of the credit card holder are not able to pay the minimum payment.
Mhm.
This is going downhill. I think, we need to have someone who knows business, who would not spend the money. Look at what's happening right now in Florida. FEMA, the budget for half of them are gone within 8 days. How are we going to, when we have elect people in to control the budget, we'll have to have somebody who's smart, who knows the balance of the book, who knows where to spend. And look at all this happening in the ballot proposition here. 5 of them, they want to issue bond, they want to buy, all that. We every year, every
Yeah.
election, Elizabeth, we have different proposition, and they're all in the name of we're solving homeless problem, we're building the school and all that kind of things. But
Yeah.
didn't we vote 2 years ago for that funding already? Where's
Yeah,
the money goes?
and then there's $21 billion that Governor Newsom can't account for that was supposedly spent on homelessness.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can't find it.
Yeah, I mean, that's so wrong. So we need someone in Sacramento who's saying, who held them responsible, will give you the money. Where do you spend the money?
Yes.
In a small company, you still have doing auditing. You have to check, and
Mhm.
when you get elected, I mean, the whole purpose of having assembly, or the Congress to elect every 2 years, because if they're not doing their job, we don't have to put up with them for 4 years. We could kick them out in 2 years. I mean,
Mhm.
so that's the idea. I think, we need to able to help hold those elected officials accountable for their action. I mean, just
Yes.
like we, but we had to be smart about it, because Democrat, they know how to play games. It's just
Mhm.
like governor just signed in SB 1174, and that bill is called Voter Integrity Bill.
But it's not.
It's not. They're lying to us.
Is that the one that says, no voter ID?
That's right.
Yeah,
1175. And
so cities are able to make their own election guidelines,
yeah,
but this bill was saying, no, Huntington Beach, you cannot require voter ID.
that's right. But the name of that is called voter integrity.
Yep,
And that's how they're lying
it's
to it.
the opposite. Yes, it's
Exactly.
the
And
opposite.
Proposition 47, when it puts out, and the name of that is Safe Neighborhood and School Act. This sounds like, we're protecting the school, we're protecting our community. Of course, I'm going to vote for it. But the fine print is that, we're going to not prosecute anyone who stole under $950.
Yeah, and it took a few years for the criminals to figure this out because, criminals, it takes them a while. But once they figured out, hey, there's not
Yeah.
going to be any consequence if we run into even a Louis Vuitton store and just grab what we want.
Yeah.
So it's emboldened the criminals.
So that's the reason, the crime, they carried no consequence. That's the reason they do not need to pay for it. We need somebody who, like Elizabeth, who tough on crime and law and order. I think that's one of the things that we need to get back, because for the last 4 years, decriminalizing everything. We legalized marijuana. There was a law who proposed to set up all the drug center for the addicted. They could do drugs in this center, and where taxpayer need to pay for it. And those are kind of things does not make any sense.
Providing the needles, providing
Yes,
more alcohol.
yeah, and actually, Elizabeth, Governor Newsom 2 weeks ago signed into a law that would allow the bar to sell marijuana. We have
Keep up with it. It's like, what's the next thing? So
it
yes,
was so wrong, because we do not, the Democrat, they have the supermajority. We need to break the supermajority, otherwise, and they could do whatever they want,
right.
and we need to have a check and balance. When we have a healthy competition, we could debate idea, we could have a public hearing on it, and we could hear us out, and everybody have a saying.
And
You
we
know.
here in San Gabriel Valley, we can bring some of that pressure to say, "Hey, hold on, let's think about this again. I think the people need to hear about what's happening." So we've got I think 5 or 6 of the cities in my Senate district are up to 70% Asian Chinese. So we Chinese can really turn things around this election cycle. We need to tell your friends and tell your
Mhm.
neighbors, say, hey, the ballots are already at your
Yeah,
house.
yeah.
So we have all had our ballots already mailed to us. And
Mhm.
so you say, friends or family, neighbors, hey, you've got your ballot. I know this great candidate that can represent us in Sacramento. So
Yes.
mark Elizabeth Wong Ahlers.
Yes. Yep. I think it's important that, because look at her. When we're seeing, a candidate who coming out to run for a position, we want to find out, do they have other motive on that one, or what the agenda would be? And look at, Elizabeth's opponent, who's endorsed by Judy Chu. This year, for the last 2 years, I have been encouraged all my viewers to vote against the candidate who are endorsed by Judy Chu, because Judy Chu's machine actually create a major problem for our community. Look at her voting record and her wealth, how she generated from when she first elected uh, in Congress. She and her husband only $1.8 million wealth, but now it's up to over close to 10 million. How she able to pull that one off? She must have
Mhm.
something that, that we do not have, the investment. There's something that we elect people not because we want them to make them rich. We elect them because they could represent our will and help us to pass the law and keep our communities safe, keep our budget balanced. So that's the reason, and Judy, I know her for a long time. When she first ran for a city council in Montreal Park, I was one of the volunteers who translate her literature into Chinese. And when she set up Asian Youth Center, I volunteered as a board member, as a former president for over 20 years, because those projects are helpful for our community. But 5 years ago, I realized it. She's not doing her job. She's catering to the special interest group, the union, the medical group. Our community needs someone who really, really watch out for our immigrant. And that's the reason, I told everybody, if this city council member, if this assembly or senator candidate is endorsed by Judy Chu, vote against that candidate, because bad news, maybe that candidate is a decent people, but they have the wrong business decision. They have the wrong decision to follow somebody like Judy Chu, because Judy Chu is the one who blamed attack the Supreme Court for render a decision banning discriminatory act by Harvard in admitting Asian students.
Mhm.
She should be representing our community and
Mhm.
advocate
Right.
for this to abolish this kind of discriminatory policy. But she's on the opposite. She's not on our side.
Mhm.
Why 80% of our Chinese family, they're against abortion, but she's the one who went on to DC to protest, to get arrested, to send a message that, she's for women's right. Women have the right, but, they don't, why she was advocating for that part. I have, at the same time, look at all the legislation that's her people, and uh, she has done a major damage and disservice for our
Mhm.
community. That's
Mhm.
the reason, we need somebody who's conservative, who could balance it. Because when we have the super majority, when they have the super majority, they could do whatever they want to do,
Mhm.
and that's
Mhm.
not right. American is a democracy. We have a freedom of speech. We have a debate. That's the reason, Judy Chu, for the last 14 years, she never debate anybody. And among all the Chinese candidates, there's no debate. They don't need a debate. They think that, I'm Chinese, you have to vote for me.
Mhm. Hey,
That's
well,
not
that
right.
reminds me, Daniel,
Hmm.
this Sunday, Mandarin Baptist in Los Angeles,
Hmm.
Mandarin Baptist of Los Angeles, but they're actually in San Gabriel, I believe.
Hmm.
So they invited both me and my opponent to come, um, tell our views.
Hmm.
So So my opponent's not coming, she's not coming, but I'll be there. So if
Yeah,
anybody wants to meet me, I'll be at Mandarin Baptist of Los Angeles on Sunday.
that's wonderful. I think somebody as a candidate, you want to hear what your voter, what your constituents want, not because
Yeah.
what they want. I think that's wrong. I mean, that's reason, in my voters guide, I choose, Elizabeth over Sasa, and also encourage all our viewers to vote Republican. When assembly candidate and all that, and when you're seeing, there is some position that is not a partisan position, but in the state assembly and state senate election, they're partisan. So I think, when you're seeing their party preference, Republican, Elizabeth, Wong, Alice, vote for her. And also, for some of the position that is not, like a city council and things like that, same thing, and we like I live in San Marino, and so I always encourage people to check on which candidate is supported by Judy Chu. If they're supported by Judy Chu, then they're not a good candidate. Vote for their opponent, because we need to send a message that you cannot take our vote and vote against our interest. You
That's
do
good.
not deserve it. We have to help them accountable.
Yeah, so my opponent is endorsed by Judy Chu,
Yes.
and this is a crucial year because it's an open seat, which means that so Anthony Portantino's termed out, but he's been in there since before there were term limits. So if my opponent gets in on this open seat year, she is probably going to perpetuate these policies as a career. She's a young woman, never married. She says she's bisexual. So she doesn't have a family value. She doesn't have a career, a business. She's only a young activist, political activist. And if she gets in this seat, she will not move. And she's only going to strengthen the supermajority. So this is our opportunity to stop her while she's young and say, hey, there's a lot of other things you can learn in life while you're young. Why don't you go start a business? Why don't you find a man and try raising children?
That's right.
She's also she is supported by Planned Parenthood, so we in California, we're a sanctuary state for abortion and transgender and confused children. So, which means that people from outside California can come into this state, and our tax money will pay for their medical procedures.
And the hotel stay too.
Yes, and the hotel, they're calling it abortion tourism, because have a vacation in California while we pay for your abortion. We do, women have that choice, but do we have to pay for it? And those outside the states. But my opponent totally supports that. Judy Chu totally supports that. And it's a policy of death, not a policy of life.
We need to wake up and we need to realize it. We have to see their voting record and what will they do. But if they already tell us that all these people, they already lay out their agenda and we still vote for them just because they were endorsed by Judy Chu, then we had to pay the price, and your children had to pay your price. And so it's important that this election get out to vote and vote Republican. Vote people like Elizabeth. Send a message to Judy Chu's machine and to all the liberal. We're fed up with you. We don't want you anymore.
And Daniel, in the primary in March, on election night, so out of the 5 candidates, we placed number 1, and election night we were 10 points ahead.
Yes.
But the vote was not, so that that gave me a relief that, all right, we will have our name on the ballot in November.
Yes.
But the certification of the votes didn't happen until April 12th. And so between March 5th and April 12th, the 10% lead, it shrunk and shrunk and shrunk up to, maybe 3%. They never passed us up. But for this election, we don't want to be a close win.
Yes.
Because they, may add votes. So we need to have a big lead, then hold that lead so it's uncontested. So that's why, yes, we need to have people that have never voted before come out and vote this time.
Yes.
And if you know people that have the ballot, say, hey, I can help you figure out how to vote and where to put the ballot. And it's legal to collect the ballots and help people turn them in.
That's right. And also, Elizabeth, you're not alone. You have a lot of people that, that we share the same philosophy. We want to save our community. We want to save the future of our children. Like people like David Liu, Vince Fong, Philip Chen, Nathan Hodgman, Eric Chin, Scott Bao, Mike Garcia, Alex Palakin, and all these people, they're willing to roll up their sleeve and want to do their share. They care about the community. They're not here for the money.
Yes.
They want to make a difference. They want to stop the progressive agenda in California. They want to save California. They want to save the future of our community. I think it's so important that, we need to support Elizabeth. I think, one of the things that, you can see, in my website, you could go to my website, click on the link here on my upper right, and you will go into, you could click this Elizabeth, and then you could go to her website. The important thing is that we need to go out and vote. And you have the election ballot already. Fill out the ballot, and then on the 25th, if you're living in San Gabriel, West San Gabriel area, you will have her name at 25th Senate District. Elizabeth should be your choice. Elizabeth, any last words you would like to say?
Well, my slogan has been love, lives, liberty, and law. It starts with love, and your lives matter, and liberty operates when good laws promote peace and prosperity. And so we love California, we love our families, and we want our families to be able to prosper and have peace, our families to thrive here in California. And it starts here at home, San Gabriel Valley. So I really appreciate everyone that can spread the word to vote for Elizabeth Wong Ahlers and the other Republican candidates. It's been really, really one of the joys during campaigning is campaigning with these other candidates. They are good men and women, and it's been such a privilege to have these months of campaigning with them. So, and Daniel, thank you so much for this website and having me on today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, if you don't want to move away from California, if you don't want to move back to Taiwan, China, or Hong Kong, we have to fight. And the best thing you could help us is to vote for Elizabeth, vote for David Liu, or vote for all the Republican candidates. Thank you, Elizabeth, for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.